Okay, thanks so much for attending. I appreciate it. My name is Mark Sneider. For those of you that don't know me, I'm owner president of RSW US. We are an outsourced lead generation business development firm that helps marketing service agencies exclusively find and win new business. We represent about 50 clients across the U.S., basically operating as our outsourced lead generation business development group. For those of you that are not aware of kind of who we are and how we operate, every year we run about 4 surveys that we push out among marketers and agencies, trying to gather some perspective from them, gather some intel that helps both our agency clients and prospective agency clients as well as marketers, just trying to gain some insights relative to what's going on in the industry, what people expect to be happening. In our most recent survey, we asked an open-ended question specifically about marketers' view of what the agency of the future looks like. And we got some really interesting comments back, and so the whole focus of today's presentation is around some of the key comments that were played out, and we'll also share some of the other results as well. If you are interested in tweeting during this presentation, feel free to use the hashtag RSWUS or hashtag AgencyNewBusiness. We'll also make this presentation available on our website probably in the next couple of days after today's presentation. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So, clearly things are moving quickly. As an agency, you need to be thinking about the future. Have had a client call recently, a small agency down in Southern Illinois. He's really good about kind of thinking ahead in terms of his agency structure, in terms of the offerings that he's providing his clients. And so in addition to managing the day-to-day activities and fires that he's got to deal with, he also takes the time to take a step back and think about kind of what the future looks like and how he ought to plan for it. And I certainly encourage all of you to do that as well. Obviously, we talk to agencies all the time. I'm amazed that there are still some stuck in the dark ages, in some respects still operating in a less than digital and social world, and some still not active in the social space, just not, talked to an agency recently whose last post was roughly a year ago. And so if you're out there promoting the value of social to your prospective clients or your clients, you darn well should be up to speed on your own in that space. And then there are a lot of agencies still relying really heavily on networking and referral for new opportunities. And we know, those are shrinking. We see agencies coming to us all the time because those are just wearing thin. They just aren't as frequently had as they used to be. And so there's definitely a profile of an agency that's still a little kind of stuck in the dark ages. Reminds me a little bit of what this guy is. And if you give me a second here, I'll go ahead and share this video with you.
What you guys need is a real multi-platform blitzkrieg. You're gonna be huge in Dubai. I know all the right people.
But we only operate in the States.
All right, who's the marketing genius here? You, me, the Scotch?
All we want is a solid internet strategy and a simple TV campaign.
Sure, so we're talking 8-9 figures?
Why does it cost you so much to make some TV commercials?
We don't make the spot.
Who does?
The production company.
So the production company makes the spots?
No, they shoot the spot.
But they don't make them?
They shoot it, the post house edits it.
So the production company and the post house make the spots?
No, the fluff house has to fluff it and the toaster has to toast it. The squibbers have to squib it.
So what are we paying you for?
The awards. Unbelievable, these
don't know if we
clients.
can trust
They didn't
this
get
guy.
anything for free.
I
What do
don't
they
know.
know? They don't know
trust
nothing.
this.
What are they
I
gonna
don't
All right, let's move on here. So, clearly that is Unfortunately, that's kind of the way the agency guy or gal used to look back in the day. There are still some out there, unfortunately, but based on what we're seeing in our surveys in the market, certainly with technology entering the conversation at an increasing pace, with marketers under increasing pressure to prove out ROI, with the need for agencies to be more responsive to the needs of their clients and the changes in the marketplace. The day of the full service agency that's just a doer agency or the negotiating dude like we saw in the video, or those that aren't proactive partners, those days are long gone. So in my opinion, the agency of the future really needs to be a number of things. One, needs to be nimble and agile. They need to be responsive. They need to be able to do things, maybe that they haven't necessarily historically done for clients. At the end of the day, it might mean tighter margins because full service will mean just that, full service, and really taking it to places that agencies typically haven't taken it to. The challenge for marketers is their ranks continue to thin. Their demands on them are greater than ever before, and the smart marketers need their agencies more than ever before. The agency of the future also needs to be a student of technology. Marketing technology needs to be a part of your vernacular. Marketers expect and need you to be their eyes and ears. And so study what's current. Try and read more. I know you don't have a ton of time, but be aware of what others are doing, and just get out of your shell and try and see what's going on out in the world beyond the four walls of your agency. Agencies also need to be curator and contractor. One of the things that came out in the survey that we'll talk a little bit about later on was that marketers need their agencies to be general contractors. No longer do marketers in general need an agency to have it all in-house. Things are getting so specialized and so sophisticated, it's really, frankly, unrealistic to think that you can have it all. But be honest with your clients or your prospective agencies. We had an agency involved in an agency search we were running recently. In conversations with the agency, he told me that, they used an outsourced media firm, which is fine. Lots of agencies do. But when we got the RFI back, there were about 6 or 7 other specialty areas that this guy used to support his business, and might have been okay had I known that up front, but it just really kind of painted a picture of a guy without real control over the things that were supporting his client's business, in part because he wasn't fully transparent in terms of how he had set expectations. So another thing too is if you're going to use outside suppliers, like many do, try and establish good solid relationships with them. Make sure, if you can, use them over and over if they prove out to be of good value, because there certainly is value in as a marketer in knowing that you as the agency has a solid, deep relationship with that supplier. It's also important to be a real timer, and this is a bit of an extension of being nimble and agile. It's about reacting in real time to changes that are going on with your client's brands. Picked up a new client recently called X+1. They're in the marketing technology space, and basically they help clients manage their messaging and changes in messaging depending on where consumers go in the digital space. If they move from a website to a mobile site, depending on where they've been on that website, it might change the messaging when they show up on that mobile site. So, and those things can happen in real time. So you've got to be ready to make the changes. You've got to be ready to react. In this case specifically, my example, deals with programmatic marketing. You also need to be selectively specialized. Consultants have been shouting this for years, and I personally think it's becoming more and more important. Marketers are busting up the full service model, looking for people, agencies that have specific expertise in sectors and in technologies. recognize that you don't have to be so zeroed in on one thing that that's all you do, but certainly being everything to everybody isn't a winning strategy either. So we've talked with agencies that are frankly afraid to show themselves as too specialized on their website, but frankly you can have specialties and have a tab that says all other work as a way of not alienating other people. So there's definitely a way to manage it without having to dedicate the entire agency to a single specialty. And the agency of the future possesses a savvier view of the competitive world. Gone are the referral and networking days, like I mentioned. Inbound is certainly making inroads. But even as a smart market, users of inbound are recognizing they have to complement their efforts with even smarter outbound strategies. We've been talking this for the last 8 years that every agency needs a good sound sales and marketing strategy. You just can't go through life living with hope as a strategy. You've got to put together a sound marketing program to really be effective, just like you do for your clients. And the last piece is agency of the future needs to be a partner, not a player, and can't be a doer agency. Most of the marketers that come to us on the agency search side of the business do so because they're fed up with their agency not taking proactive positions with their business. This can happen soon in a relationship. It can become very self-evident early in a relationship. But what we see most often is it happens when an agency becomes complacent after a long-standing relationship. So, stay alert. We tell agencies to treat every day of that relationship like it's the first day, to try and make sure that you're doing everything you can to bring value to your clients' lives. So today we're going to kind of zero in on the 5 most mentioned comments by marketers about what the agency of the future looks like. And our hope is that it will provide you with some insight and perspective for you as you, rethink, reshape the agency that you're managing or are a part of as you look to the future. So let's, talk the first of the most mentioned comments. Marketers said there will be no mid-sized players. Our industry will likely see a rise in the specialty boutique agencies. The mid-sized agency will either get bought out or will die. And I say no to this thinking. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a function of size. I think it's a function of focus and how well you as an agency deliver. I've seen mid-size agencies certainly get a bit diluted. So if you're a growing small shop that's entering into that mid-size realm, key is keeping yourself focused on what got you there. Stay true to the service you've prided yourself on when you were small and nimble. Don't lose your character. I think probably one of the toughest things to hang on to as an agency grows. So being mid-size isn't a death sentence unless you let it be. And so, what marketers want to see is some form of specialty. As we see here, it's either very or somewhat important to them. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a boutique in order to deliver on that end. And the other thing to consider here, and we see a lot of this with mid-tier spending marketing clients that come to us on the agency search side, is that mid-sized companies, clearly need resource-rich agencies that aren't big and expensive and public. Small firms are great because they can have a tendency to be much more nimble. But companies that aren't huge enough to go with the big boys, but want that big boy feel, will tend to lean towards a resource-rich mid-sized firm if they, obviously have the experience in the world. At least that's what we, typically see on the agency search side of things. And as I said before, specialization is growing in importance, but it's not an all or nothing affair. Key is having some depth in whatever sector you claim to be expert in. And it's noted here, 90% of marketers state that you don't have to have a ton of your agency dedicated to a sector to make you a specialist. In fact, over 50% say that you only need 50% or less to make it work for them. And the bottom line is that most marketers want some form of specialization. They've long felt it important as they've noted in our surveys, and it seems to be growing year after year. So, frankly, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference what size you are. You just need to prove to your marketing partner that you can deliver in their category. We saw this in a search that we managed at the end of last year for Mercy Health up in Michigan, where we had 3 finalist agencies. 2 of the strongest candidates were very different. One was an all healthcare agency. The other had about 25% of its practice dedicated to healthcare. The agency that was all healthcare came in with a very prescribed, sort of predictable solution to this client's problems, and it was very evident that they took successes from other hospital clients they had managed and basically sort of replayed them in this final pitch presentation, whereas the agency that only had 25% of their experience dedicated to the healthcare space really took some extra steps, visited the market, did some research among patients and consumers of this hospital, tested some of their ideas and strategies, and came to the table with a very well thought out plan that clearly reflected the fact that they had done their homework and really gotten to know this client and this market. And at the end of the day, the client chose the agency with the experience, the lesser experience, because they felt like that agency was ramping up already and ready to take on their business. So makes no difference the size. You don't have to be an ultra specialist in order to be successful, if you're trying to win a client's heart and their business. So the bottom line is, if you're proactive and you keep yourself on top of the trends, it really makes no difference what size you are. And, we see it in our surveys among marketers. The top reason why marketers leave agencies is because they're either not proactive, they're not strategic, or they're not creative. The creative has kind of fallen down. And it's what we see in searches. It's most often reason why marketers come to us looking for new agencies, and it's why our RSW US agency clients most often find and win new business, because marketers are telling them that their agencies are certainly are simply falling down and not delivering. So let's now move on to marketer perspective number 2. Another frequently mentioned comment by marketers relative to why they think the agency, what they think the agency of the future should or will look like. They state that the agency of the future should offer traditional advertising with effective digital and social media extensions, all connected to relevant PR, and the agency understands the role of all of that working together. And I tend to agree with this one. It's not just about an agency having it all, it's about the agency understanding the need for a marketer to have it all, or the marketer knowing that their agency can look at the world in this context for the benefit of their brand. And we're not just talking about full-service agencies here and their ability to get it. It goes both ways. It's not just enough for a digital firm to just be a digital firm. A question we've asked in our surveys over the last few years, and the numbers keep growing when we ask marketers how important you feel it is for digital firms to offer traditional media services in order to survive long-term. And here, close to 80% of marketers say it's either somewhat or very important. Marketers want agencies that can think and plan and execute in an integrated fashion, and or work with partners that can work with other specialists they deal with. Why integration is vital. With so many platforms, consumers control how and when they get their information, so agencies have to be built to deliver it. It's just a simple fact of life. And by delivering it, it can be in the form of perspective or strategy or execution, with or without partners. And the digital-only phenomena plays out here. Marketers tell us that they aren't likely to use a digital-only agency again in the future if they aren't using one now. I personally think this is a function of, or a perception, that digital-only agencies are typically more limited in their view of the world. But that doesn't have to be true. I know we have a number of digital agencies that we represent on the agency RSW US side of our business, the agency new business side, that are digital at the core, which is a good thing because it suggests that while foundationally grounded in digital, they know how to look at the world beyond the digital and social space to accomplish what a marketer needs to accomplish. And, other reason why integration is vital is because you're going to be pulled in as a specialist. If you are going to be pulled in as a specialist in a particular platform, you have to show your client or prospective client that you can play nice with others, as our previous slide suggested. So let's move on to another most mentioned comment on what the agency of the future looks like as it is played back to us by marketers. And this one will actually talk two comments, one I don't agree with, which is the first one, and the other, which I think makes a heck of a lot more sense, at least in my opinion, and if true, more likely to be the way agencies will think and operate in the future. So first marketing perspective is that digital will continue to evolve, so agencies must be flexible and aware, but creative, not capability, will still be king. And frankly, I do not agree with this one. Back in the day when digital first came to play, being mildly creative in the space, was certainly the way to go, but not so much anymore. Remember the days of Flash, how cool that was and how non-functional that was? Well, just really creative was important then, and here's another perspective related to the same area. Other marketers say it's much more, the market in the future is much more sophisticated and data mining to understand the impact of consumer behavior and channel effectiveness to drive more effective marketing strategy. Pretty ads simply are not enough, and completely agree with this one. Creativity, obviously will always be an important element in the agency space, but as that space gets more complex, creativity will only become a part of it. As we look at, marketers and their anticipated spending changes here on this chart, there's more of a tendency to drive dollars into areas that are not traditional and more technology and digital related, like programmatic media and marketing. Not that this suggests that creativity is an important element. I'm not suggesting that at all. Just points out that marketers are shifting their focus and their spending, and so should you. So, one reason why creative only kind of matters is because marketers are under intense pressure to deliver. We've seen it over the past couple of years at the Marin New Business Development Conference, marketers talking about the demands, the ROI pressures, the need for agencies to be more responsive. Creative only kind of matters too because there are just simply too many technologies out there that provide too many benefits to be ignored. There's some real advantages that can be gained from the use of different marketing technologies, and you're going to look like a real hero if you can bring and deliver an ongoing flow of new ideas to your clients. This is the way the marketplace looked in 2011, approximately 100 marketing technology companies, and even, pretty confusing back then. A year later, approximately 350 companies, starting to get certainly a little bit crazy. And this was just back in January 2014. Over 950 companies were identified as playing in the marketing technology space. So take the time to read the publications, maybe attend a conference on occasion, just to get some perspective that you may not otherwise have. Or you can check out the annual report on marketing technologies we release with Marin that looks at some of these, not all of these by any stretch, but gives you, some perspective. We pushed that out in June of last year or May of last year. We'll be doing that again this year. And the bottom line is being creative is more than just, pretty pictures. Creative involves smart thinking, smart strategy, creative solutions, creative measurement tools. So think about it in a larger context. Creativity can really manifest itself in lots of different ways. Okay, let's move on to another marketer point of view relative to what the agency will look like in not the too distant future. So another marketer perspective is I think marketing agencies will continue to get more competitive and stay on top of trends, and I couldn't agree more with this. Agencies in general, I think, are also on board with this one. 80% is noted here in this chart from our most recent survey. I believe that they will be getting much more aggressive this year in their attempts to win new business. We've seen it with a record number of agencies reaching out to us and signing up on our agency new business side of our business just over the last 6 months, and also with a record number of marketers coming to us looking for help in finding new agencies. And with fewer marketers, there are fewer opportunities for agencies, which is forcing larger agencies to go after smaller pieces of business. And as marketers are carving out pieces of their business, there are more agencies trying to win it. Marketers seem to recognize this, and there seems to be a willingness to include more agencies in the consideration set when they're looking for a new firm. In this chart here, it showcases the fact that 43% of marketers in this year's survey say they're including more agencies. We've seen this number increase year after year. And what this means for you, the agency, is you have to be more critical and more questioning when it comes to getting involved in pitches. You need to be smart in terms of making sure you're getting involved in the right pitch that's right for your agency, and understand the scope. Make sure that you're getting kind of a full set of information about what the scope of the business is, and whether or not it really, again, kind of fits with the profile of your agency. So maybe it's been years of providing counsel that we've been providing along with the agency consultants out there talking similar stories, but agencies are getting much more organized in their outreach, whether on their own or hiring firms like ours to get the job done. Another reason why they're getting more competitive, people are simply getting more organized. Agencies state that they're likely to invest more heavily in their marketing and sales and people in 2014 as a result of this growing need to get ahead of the game. 95% of agencies state this in their to be their plan for 2014, as is noted here. So if you're not one of them, or you're on the fence a bit, you might find yourself in a challenging position as you roll through this year. And it's really playing out in a lot of ways. More agencies are blogging, more agencies are building inbound programs, and it appears, if we use our business as any indicator, more agencies are creating programs or signing up with companies to execute programs for formal outreach to prospects they're interested in going after. Now for our last marketing perspective or commentary on the future of the agency. Marketers say that agencies will look more like general contractors, where they actually go out and bring in lots of specialists, preferably the best specialists, to execute against individual tactics, and they manage the entire campaign. And I definitely agree with this one too. As we talked earlier, marketers are expecting agencies to have it, aren't expecting agencies to have it all. They just want a smart agency that can proactively bring them the best talent. The key here is being proactive. Come to your client with ideas. Come to your client with new companies to consider as part of their outreach plan. Come to your client challenging conventional thinking. And if you really have a true partnership with your agency, they'll appreciate it. Always, the more you can stay ahead of the game, the more appreciative they'll be. The other reason, what's happening now and what to expect is agencies are devoting, specific resources to outsourcing ideas and technologies and talents. We have a new client that recently came on board. First time I've seen this, where they actually have somebody in-house who's not only responsible for finding new talent for their organization. So instead of them going out and using a headhunter, that person is inside their four walls, but that person's also responsible for looking for new technologies and new advances that can help their agency better help their clients' businesses. So definitely kind of an interesting approach to trying to stay ahead of the technology and marketing game. And, lastly, I mentioned this earlier, treat every day like it's the first day of the relationship. If you think in these terms, you're sure to be successful in building a solid partnership with your agency. So again, in my humble opinion, the agency of the future that will be the winning agency will be nimble and agile. They'll be able to zig and zag, move as their client moves, respond to the market as the market moves. They'll be a student of technology. They'll be, being creative is good, but being a student of technology will help keep you and your agency ahead of the curve. And remember, it's not an all or nothing affair. You can be a general contractor, but know who you're bringing in. Give your client confidence that you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's. And remember, your consumer's moving fast, and so should you. Otherwise, they're going to be steps ahead of you, and eventually that's going to catch up with you in your client relationship. And think about, where you carry your specialties and how you want to leverage them. Marketers want some form of expertise in their space. And again, it's not an all or nothing affair. You don't have to dedicate your entire agency to it in order to be effective. And get ready, as 2014 looks to be a pretty aggressive year for competition among agencies. Agencies seem to be investing more, willing to put together programs that are more organized to try and reach the people that they want to work with. And finally, be a partner, not a player. Don't just be a doer agency. Be proactive, stay ahead of the game, help your client recognize that they are a business partner of yours and you're not just a vendor supplier of theirs. So that's kind of what we think and marketers think the agency of the future looks like. What it looks like today may not be what it looks like a few months from now or a year from now, but that's the way everybody seems to see it today. It's likely to change just as fast as our world is changing today. But if you're not thinking about it, you need to get on it. Modify how your agency is structured. Dedicate the right resources to make your agency the deliverer of insights and ideas and technologies. Then the value you bring to your clients is more than just a great feel-good campaign. It's real smart thinking and a real partnership that will run a lot deeper than a pretty ad. So really thank you a ton. I appreciate you attending today's webinar. Just to reiterate, the presentation will be available on our site, rswus.com, in a day or two, so feel free to reach out and grab that off our site and share that with others. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me at mark@rswus.com. And again, appreciate the opportunity and hope you have a great rest of your day.